Have you ever eaten a meal because a religious text told you the exact pairing, right down to the mandatory side dish? Sounds oddly specific, but it's a real thing, and it's on this list. This is part 2 of our walk through the Bible's actual pantry. 10 more dishes, cross-checked against real research, not folklore. If you caught part 1, you already know how this works. Real scripture, real ingredients, real modern science layered on top, and a fair number of surprises about how different these ingredients look today compared to a few thousand years ago. If you haven't seen part 1, don't worry, this one stands completely on its own. No homework required before we start. Quick preview before we start. Number 5 is the meal that came with a mandatory non-negotiable side dish. Skipping it was never actually allowed. And number 10 isn't really a recipe at all. It's the closest thing the Bible has to an actual nutrition thesis written into a single verse about a blessed harvest. Let's get into it. Number 1. Cucumber, dill, and goat cheese bowl. Imagine being so attached to a vegetable that when you lose access to it, you complain about it directly to Moses. That's not an exaggeration. It's a real verse. In Numbers chapter 11, the Israelites in the wilderness list off exactly what they're missing from their old life in Egypt. And cucumbers make the cut right alongside melons, leeks, onions, and garlic. Basically a produce aisle shopping list of regret. Slice cucumbers and toss with dill, olive oil, a little salt, and crumbled goat cheese. Maybe a spoonful of thick yogurt if you want it creamier. Chill slightly before serving. Cucumbers are over 96% water with real electrolytes in the mix, making them one of the most efficient hydration foods that exists. They contain cucurbitacins, compounds with documented anti-inflammatory activity, along with small amounts of fisetin, a flavonoid getting attention for its effects on brain aging. Dill works fast here too. It has genuine carminative effects, meaning it relieves gas and bloating almost as soon as you eat it, and it carries volatile oils with real antimicrobial activity. Goat cheese tends to be easier to digest than cow dairy for a lot of people, thanks to a different protein and fat structure, and it delivers calcium and probiotics in a more bioavailable form. Now, for the twist nobody tells you. Those cucurbitacins are also exactly what gives wild cucumbers their bitter taste, and modern commercial cucumbers have been deliberately bred to suppress them. Sold under labels like burpless or bitter-free. Plant geneticists eventually tracked the trait down to 2 specific genes, nicknamed simply B and BT, and once they knew where to look, they could breed them out reliably instead of by trial and error. Here's the irony. Though the same researchers who sequenced those genes found the compounds behind that bitterness have real potential against certain cancer cells and blood sugar issues in lab studies, we bred out the bitterness for better snacking, and along with it, quietly dialed down one of the more interesting medicinal compounds the plant was making in the first place. The cucumber on your cutting board tonight is a gentler, more polite, slightly less potent version of the one. People were literally grieving in the desert. This bowl takes 10 minutes and leaves you cool, light, and quietly well. Exactly what the Israelites were mourning, and exactly what more of us should be eating. Okay, that one made people cry in the wilderness. This next one might make you rethink breakfast entirely. Number 2. Garlic rubbed roasted eggs with greens and bread, before cereal, before toast with jam, before any of it. This is roughly what breakfast looked like for a huge portion of the ancient world, and for the poorest households, an egg was often the single most affordable complete protein available. Soft boil or roast eggs until just set. Then serve over greens, wilted in olive oil and garlic. Add torn, toasted bread to soak up the juices. Finish with herbs and salt. Eggs contain all 9 essential amino acids in proportions that match human needs better than almost any other single food, along with choline, one of the most important and most under-consumed nutrients for brain and liver health, plus lutein and zeaxanthin for eye protection. Most surveys of modern diets find the majority of adults fall well short of recommended choline intake, and there's no fad supplement involved in fixing that. It's mainly sitting in the yolk of an egg. You were probably scraping into the trash anyway. The wilted greens bring folate, vitamin K, and iron, and garlic contributes allicin, a compound with genuine cardiovascular, antimicrobial, and immune-supporting effects, backed by hundreds of clinical studies at this point. Here's where the fine print changes. For nearly all of human history, an egg came from a bird that spent its day walking around outside, eating bugs, seeds, and whatever else it found, because there was no other way to raise a chicken. That kind of pasture-based diet consistently produces eggs measurably higher in omega-3s and vitamin D than eggs from conventionally raised indoor hens, which is the default source for most eggs sold today. It's not that today's eggs are bad, they're still one of the best value proteins on the planet. It's that the specific egg your ancient counterpart cracked into a pan was, on average, a slightly more nutrient-dense version of the same food. This is the breakfast working people built entire days on. It stabilizes blood sugar, protects the liver, feeds the brain, and doesn't weigh down the stomach. A lot of modern optimized breakfasts are just this recipe with better marketing. Let's stay in the vegetable patch for one more, because I owe you a small confession about this next ingredient. Number 3. Roasted carrots and onions with honey and thyme. Okay, quick fact check before we go further, because I did the digging and I want to be straight with you about this one. Cut carrots and onions into thick wedges, toss with olive oil, thyme and salt, and roast until caramelized and tender. In the last few minutes, drizzle lightly with honey, so it glazes without burning. Now here's the honest part. Onions are genuinely, unambiguously biblical. That's the exact verse from item 1. Numbers 11:5, where onions get named right alongside the cucumbers and leeks. Carrots, though, are the new kid at this table. The carrot, as a cultivated root vegetable, didn't really exist yet in anything like its modern form. During the biblical period, it was domesticated centuries later, likely in Persia, around the 10th century, and for most of its early history it was purple, white, or yellow, not orange. The bright orange carrot we know is largely a Dutch agricultural achievement from around the 17th century, so this dish is best described as biblical-inspired rather than strictly biblical, and honestly, the carrot has earned its seat at this table anyway. Carrots are the richest common vegetable source of beta-carotene, which your body converts into vitamin A, essential for immune function, skin, and vision. That orange color is quite literally the nutrient advertising itself. The same breeding that pushed out the purple pigments concentrated more carotene in its place, while purple carrots leaned instead on anthocyanins, a different, but equally real, family of antioxidants. Onions bring quercetin, one of the most studied flavonoids in nutrition, with documented anti-inflammatory and antihistamine effects across dozens of trials, plus the same sulfur compounds that make you tear up at the cutting board, which double as part of their antimicrobial punch. Thyme adds thymol, a compound so antimicrobial it shows up in actual pharmaceutical antiseptics, and roasting concentrates all of it while building new antioxidant compounds through caramelization that simply don't exist in the raw vegetable. This is sophisticated food chemistry wearing the disguise of a humble side dish, honest carrot history, and all. After that little fact check, let's ease into something that basically doubles as dessert. Number 4. Honeyed ricotta with figs and pistachios. This next one is essentially the oldest recorded description of a perfect date night that still exists, and it happens to be dessert. In the Song of Solomon, the beloved speaks of honey and milk together as the height of pleasure and nourishment the ancient world could imagine. And once you actually make this, it's easy to see why. Spread fresh ricotta or strained soft goat cheese into a shallow bowl. Top with sliced fresh or rehydrated dried figs, a drizzle of raw honey, and crushed pistachios, plus a pinch of cinnamon. Serve with bread, or just eat it with a spoon. Genuinely raw honey contains hydrogen peroxide, methyl glyoxal, and a protein called defensin, 1, all compounds with real, documented antimicrobial effects. Studies have shown raw honey can inhibit bacterial growth, including some antibiotic-resistant strains, which is part of why medical-grade honey dressings are actually used in some wound care settings today. Ricotta and soft goat cheese provide easily digestible protein and calcium, with far less inflammatory potential than harder aged cheeses. Pistachios bring lutein and zeaxanthin for eye protection and documented prebiotic effects on gut bacteria. And unlike most nuts, they're eaten with a visible shell, which naturally slows down how fast you eat them. A built-in portion control mechanism nobody planned on purpose. Now, the part that might annoy you a little: raw honey only means something if it's actually raw. A European Commission investigation that tested honey imports across the EU found that close to half the samples were suspected of being cut with cheap sugar syrups, a type of fraud that's become sophisticated enough to fool a lot of casual taste tests. In other words, a large share of what's labeled honey on store shelves today isn't the antimicrobial powerhouse described above at all. It's syrup wearing a honey bear costume. The fix is simple. Buy from a local beekeeper if you can, or at minimum, look for honey that lists a single country of origin rather than a vague blend. This tastes like dessert, functions like medicine when it's genuine, and takes about 4 minutes to put together. That was the romantic one. This next one is the dish. Nobody was allowed to serve without its side order. Literally, it was commanded. Number 5. Lamb and bitter green skillet. Lamb was the sacred protein of the biblical world, the Passover meal, the offering, the centerpiece of the feast, and the bitter herbs served next to it weren't a garnish or an afterthought. Exodus chapter 12, verse 8, is specific about it. The lamb had to be eaten with bitter herbs. Not you could add them if you like. Commanded, alongside the meat itself. Sear small pieces of lamb in olive oil with garlic and onion until browned. Then add chopped bitter greens like dandelion, mustard greens, or kale, plus a splash of water or broth, and cook until tender. Season with salt, herbs, and a squeeze of citrus if you'd like. Lamb is one of the richest sources of carnitine, the compound your body uses to burn fat for fuel, along with zinc, B12, and heme iron, in a form your body absorbs extremely efficiently. Here's the elegant part. The bitter compounds in dandelion and mustard greens stimulate bile production, which is exactly what you need to properly digest the fat in lamb. Skip the greens and eat the lamb alone, and you're working your digestive system harder for the same meal. Nobody back then understood the biochemistry. They just knew, through generations of repetition, that the pairing worked, and the instructions survived long enough to get written down as law. Quick reality check on sourcing. Every scrap of lamb eaten in the ancient world was, by definition, what we'd now market as grass-fed, because grain feedlots didn't exist yet. Animals grazed, full stop. Today, a meaningful share of commercial lamb is at least partly grain-finished to fatten it faster. Research comparing the two consistently finds grass-fed lamb runs higher in omega-3 fatty acids and conjugated linoleic acid, and lower in total fat than grain-finished lamb. If you want the version closest to what was actually eaten at that first Passover table, the label to look for is grass-fed or pasture-raised, not just lamb. This is the dish that feels ancient the second it starts cooking, savory, slightly bitter, unhurried. A meal that asks nothing of you except to sit down and actually eat slowly. After a meal that dramatic, let's come back down to earth with the most unglamorous dish on this entire list. I mean that as a compliment. Number 6. White bean and leek skillet. This is the kind of humble dish that got people through lean seasons, long journeys, and uncertain years. And it turns out that plainness was quietly protecting people's health the entire time. Cook white beans until tender, then saute sliced leeks and garlic in olive oil until soft and sweet. Add the beans, chopped parsley, a little salt, and enough bean broth to make it silky without turning it into soup. Finish with cracked pepper. Leeks belong to the allium family alongside garlic and onion, and they're specifically named in that same. Numbers 11 wilderness. Complaint from earlier in this list. Apparently the leeks stung just as much to lose as the cucumbers did. That craving tracks. Leeks contain prebiotics that feed the gut microbiome, chiampherol with documented cardiovascular benefits, and polysulfides that support liver detoxification. White beans are among the highest fiber foods on the planet, and their soluble fiber specifically lowers LDL cholesterol, steadies blood sugar, and feeds the gut lining. Honestly, not much has changed here. And that's worth pointing out too. Not every food on this list has a dramatic then versus now story. Leeks have never been glamorous enough to attract the kind of intensive commercial breeding that reshaped wheat or grapes or tilapia. Nobody's racing to build a sweeter, bigger, more shelf-stable leek. It has just quietly stayed a leek, which means the pot you'd cook tonight is a genuinely close cousin to the one someone in the ancient Near East would have made from the exact same plant. This skillet isn't flashy, and it never will be, but it does something quiet and real every single time you eat it. All right, boring streak, officially over. This next one is the one seafood on the entire list that actually earns the hype it gets. Number 7. Roasted salmon with crushed olives and herbs. Fatty fish, whole olives, fresh herbs, good olive oil. This combination represents one of the most anti-inflammatory meals that has ever existed, and people along the Mediterranean coast were eating some version of it constantly, with zero idea why it worked as well as it did. Lay salmon fillets in a baking dish and cover with chopped olives, garlic, parsley, oregano, and olive oil. Roast until just cooked through and flaky, then spoon the warm olive mixture over the top and serve with greens or roasted squash. Salmon delivers EPA and DHA, the long-chain omega-3s that reduce systemic inflammation, support brain function, and lower triglycerides, with real documented effects on mood and cognitive health. Whole olives, not just the oil but the actual flesh, contain hydroxytyrosol, one of the most bioavailable antioxidants in the human food supply. Oregano brings carvacrol, a compound with strong antimicrobial activity in lab and food safety research. Here's the label question worth asking at the fish counter. Wild and farmed salmon are not nutritionally identical. Wild salmon generally carries a more favorable omega-3 to omega-6 ratio and is leaner overall, while farmed salmon often has more total fat and, because of it, comparable or even slightly higher raw omega-3 content, but also more saturated fat and, in several studies, PCB levels reported anywhere from 5 to 10 times higher than wild fish, tied directly to what farmed salmon are fed and how densely they're raised in open pens. Farmed salmon also typically gets its signature pink color from added pigment in the feed, since without krill and shrimp in its actual diet, the flesh would otherwise come out closer to gray. Neither option is something to avoid. Both still land far ahead of most proteins people eat daily. But if you're choosing based on the cleanest possible version, wild caught is the closer match to whatever fish actually swam through these Bible stories. This is a dish that tastes like the Mediterranean coast and functions like medicine on a plate, minus any of the mystery about why. From the ocean to the orchard, here's a fruit bowl fit for a king's table, with a secret weapon most people throw straight in the trash. Number 8. Pomegranate, grape, and walnut salad. The fruits of the biblical land, pomegranates, grapes, figs, olives, were significant enough to be named among the 7 species blessed in the land of Israel, and this salad brings 3 of them together into something that's essentially a concentrated antioxidant delivery system dressed up as lunch. Combine halved grapes, pomegranate seeds, chopped walnuts, parsley, and mixed greens in a bowl. Dress lightly with olive oil and a little honey or vinegar. Toss gently and top with a bit of goat cheese. Grapes contain resveratrol, a polyphenol so extensively studied for cardiovascular health that it inspired an entire supplement category on its own. Pomegranate seeds add punicalagins, and walnuts bring plant-based omega-3s along with ellagic acid, a compound your gut bacteria convert into urolithins, which researchers are now studying for their effects on muscle maintenance as people age. Mixed greens round it out with fat-soluble vitamins that the olive oil in the dressing actually helps your body absorb, since several of these compounds barely get taken up at all without some fat alongside them. Now, the detail most people throw straight into the trash. Whole grapes with intact seeds contain oligomeric proanthocyanidins, some of the most bioavailable antioxidants identified in food research, concentrated almost entirely in the seed. Modern seedless grapes, the kind that dominate nearly every grocery store produce section because nobody wants to deal with spitting out seeds, were specifically bred to remove the one part of the fruit carrying the densest dose of those compounds. It's a completely understandable trade for convenience. It's also, quietly, giving up a meaningful chunk of what made grapes worth talking about nutritionally in the first place. If you can find seeded grapes, or just eat the seeds in the ones you've got, you're getting a noticeably more complete version of the fruit. This is a salad that would have looked right at home on Solomon's table. It tastes like abundance, seeds and all. One more grain dish before the grand finale. And this one was basically the world's first meal prep bowl. Number 9. Rustic wheat berry and herb pilaf. Whole wheat berries, not flour, not bread, the actual whole kernel, are one of the most nutritionally complete foods that has ever sustained a civilization, and combined with the herbs used across biblical-era cooking, you get something that functions as a grain bowl, a tonic, and a packed lunch, all at once. Boil wheat berries until chewy and tender, drain, and toss with olive oil, parsley, mint, scallions, and chopped cucumber. Add salt, and a handful of pomegranate seeds for brightness, and serve warm or at room temperature. Whole wheat berries retain the bran and germ that gets stripped away entirely in white flour, which is where most of the fiber, B vitamins, vitamin E, iron, zinc, and magnesium actually live. Their dense, chewy texture also means you naturally eat more slowly and stay full longer, moderating blood sugar. In a way, refined grain products simply can't replicate. Here's a shift that has nothing to do with plant breeding and everything to do with habit. Parsley in this recipe isn't a garnish. It's a genuine ingredient, used by the handful the way it still is in dishes like tabbouleh across the Levant today. In a lot of modern Western kitchens, parsley's entire job description has shrunk down to the sprig on the side of the plate that nobody eats. That's a real loss, because used properly, in quantity, parsley delivers more vitamin C than an orange by volume, along with real diuretic and kidney supportive effects. Mint gets a similar demotion in most modern cooking, treated as a garnish for desserts and cocktails rather than an actual vegetable quantity ingredient, even though it's carrying real anti-inflammatory compounds every time. It's used generously instead of decoratively. The plants didn't change. Our portion sizes did. This pilaf is ancient fast food, quick to put together, easy to carry, complete as an entire meal. It's what people carried into the fields and ate at midday for thousands of years, and there's genuinely no reason it can't still do that job today. And here we are, everything on this list distilled into one single verse. Number 10. 7 Species Harvest Bowl. This isn't just the last recipe on the list, it's basically a theology of nourishment disguised as a grain bowl. In Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 8, God describes the promised land by naming its food directly: wheat, barley, grapevines, figs, pomegranates, olive oil, and honey from dates. 7 species, 7 foods. An entire civilization's nutritional identity encoded into a single verse. Cook wheat berries or cracked wheat and barley until tender, then layer them in a bowl. Top with sliced grapes, chopped figs, pomegranate seeds, olives, and chopped dates, and finish with olive oil, fresh herbs, and a pinch of salt. What you end up with is beta-glucan from the barley for your gut and cholesterol, complete amino acids from the wheat, resveratrol from the grapes, prebiotic fiber from the figs, punic allergens from the pomegranate, hydroxytyrosol from the olives, and natural sugars and potassium from the dates, all made more absorbable by the olive oil tying it together. No supplement stack assembles this exact combination of compounds in a form your body already knows how to use, because this combination wasn't designed in a lab. It was assembled over thousands of years of lived observation by a specific people in a specific land about what kept them strong, fertile, and clear-headed. If there's one thread running through everything in both of these videos, it's actually sitting right here in this bowl. Nearly every one of these 7 ingredients has quietly changed shape somewhere along the way to your kitchen. Grapes lost their seeds. Wheat got bred for yield over minerals. A meaningful share of the honey on shelves isn't fully honey anymore. None of that makes any of these foods bad. It just means the most useful thing you can do with everything covered across this 2-part series isn't just eating more of these 7 foods. It's seeking out the more original version of each one, where you actually hulled grain instead of pearled, seeded grapes instead of seedless, local, raw honey instead of the squeeze bottle. Small adjustments, same ancient list. Put next to each other, the 20 dishes across both of these videos aren't really 20 separate ideas. They're one idea, repeated. Whole food, minimally altered, eaten close to its original form, works. The 7 species just happened to be the verse where that idea got written down most explicitly. The 7 species weren't chosen for their symbolism. They were chosen because, one ingredient at a time, they worked. If you only take one thing from these 20 dishes, let it be this. Every culture that survived long-term figured out, through nothing but time and attention, how to eat well with whatever was actually in front of them. No lab required. That's not a knock on modern nutrition science. A lot of what we covered across both of these videos only exists because of that science. It's more that the two are finally agreeing with each other, after a few thousand years of the Bible waiting patiently to be taken seriously as a food document, and not only a spiritual one. Here's a small challenge. Pick one dish from either list and actually cook it for somebody else this week, not just for yourself. A good number of these recipes were built for a shared table, not a solo bowl eaten in front of a screen. And honestly, most of them taste better when you're not eating them alone anyway. If this 2-part series was genuinely useful to you, the like button helps more than you'd think. And if you want more of this kind of digging, subscribing costs nothing and keeps this channel finding the next thing worth researching properly. Tell me in the comments which of all 20 dishes across both parts you're actually going to make. I'll be reading them. Thank you for watching both of these all the way through. That's a lot of ancient history and modern research to sit with, and I appreciate you being curious enough to do it rather than just taking my word for any of it. Talk soon.